Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Emilio in Tennessee here to talk some Packers, talk a little draft. We may have a special guest joining us in a second. So if we're hitting on some Packer news, we may just shift gears right into some James Pearce Jr. talk as we're trying to get Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports in here to talk a little UT Volunteers with us. I know they've got several players, I think 3 different players in the top 100, Dylan Sampson, Omar Norman Lott. Of course, everybody's talked about Dante Johnson late in the draft, the physical freak there. And, of course, we're going to try to get a scoop on James Pearce Jr. and see from a guy who covers UT sports, is there something, there of substance in terms of being concerned, hey, is this guy could be potentially, trouble for the Packers. I know the Packers obviously already have him in the top 30 visit. So we'll see how that goes. But how we doing, gents? How's everybody's day?
Good, man. Good to be here. We got Excelio in the house.
Tim, I'm glad to be here, man. I catching up on the pod last night. Today with the landscape job, forgot to get the back shoulder of the arm, little sunburnt there, but beautiful, 80 degrees. I mean, it was gorgeous today. Nice breeze.
Yeah, you guys getting 80s. You're getting 80s down there, huh? I like it.
Like he said, we had 15 to 20 mile an hour winds today. It was just glorious. It was, It was like oceanfront property in Arizona. You know what I'm saying, Tim? It's just absolutely perfect. So let's do this. Let's get started with a little Packers news. And again, if Dave jumps in here, we'll immediately shift gears and make sure we respect his time and get some of that information about James Pearce Jr. So Easton Butler tweeted this out. The Packers re-signed tight end John Fitzpatrick per a source. Now, you guys know John Fitzpatrick kind of surprised me last year. And I don't know, maybe you guys disagree, but him stepping in for Ben Sims and kind of, I think it was that playoff game, right, that he played over Ben Sims. They deactivated Ben Sims and actually activated John Fitzpatrick. So when John Fitzpatrick was kind of let go, they let him walk, that's where I started getting a little bit concerned about the tight end room. Like, hey, we probably need to add a body or two. Bringing John Fitzpatrick back doesn't mean he's going to be a lock for the roster, but you feel a lot better about not having to go get another tight end with depth if you're worried about Luke Musgrave staying healthy, obviously. So I want to get your all's take on John Fitzpatrick. I think it's extremely valuable bringing somebody back that obviously understands the system and they trusted quite a bit last year.
Yeah. Thank you for the applause, Tim, because a dude that kind of puts in the work, right? He was real quiet, but, we needed him out there when Tucker wasn't getting, the looks, or we needed to bring in a blocking guy. He wasn't afraid to step in, just put his head down and worked. I really liked the kid. I'm glad we brought him back in. You got to give him a shot, make the team on special teams if you can, and go from there.
Yeah. Like you said, depth, right? Depth at the tight end group. And there was a lot to like about what he put on tape last year in the limited reps that we saw him out there. And other than, of course, missing the block on the opening kickoff against the Eagles and,
right.
Keyshawn getting blown up, we all remember that play. But, we're not going to judge him by one missed block. He's a blue-collar tight end. He fits in really well with this group. And like Clayton said, gives us depth, makes us, not have to take a tight end in this draft. It'd be nice to grab one, but we don't have to. And, seeing this today, made me happy for real. I mean, Fitzpatrick was a dog last year for sure.
Definitely. All right. So Drew D in the chat says Fitzpatrick creates a baseline for competition at least. Yeah. And someone who knows the playbook, right? Yeah. I can't remember one time last year it was like, mental mistake by Fitzpatrick. It just seemed like it clicked. He picked it up, no problem. And obviously he was a dude that, if I remember correctly, had a pretty good RAS similar to Ben Sims. Obviously they like those physical tight ends. Prince in the chat says 6 tight ends now signed, ready for OTAs. Yes, sir. Greg Rice says, can he block? He can block. I remember last year there was a play. I can't remember which game it was, but we did it on Chalk Talk, and I'm sure we'll uncover it as we're re-uploading all the Chalk Talks into the Patreon group. But, man, there was a play where he kind of came off, sealed the edge, and he smacked a backer right in the mouth. And I was like, oh, okay. Hello, Fitzpatrick. Like that, I feel like that's probably his specialty. To be honest with you, he's kind of a gritty player.
But you're right. Knowing the playbook and still being able to block on top of that, that's huge. Guy came from Georgia, so he knows that fundament. That mentality that Goody loves and that Matt loves too. So perfect guy to bring in.
Definitely. Fred McFarley asks, is Jacob stuck at the checkout at Aldi? He may be. He may be at the Aldi right now. So
he probably order.
Breaking news. Jacob is stuck at the checkout at Aldi.
Exactly. All right, let's do this. We got another little bit of news earlier today as Easton Butler had tweeted out the Packers are hosting linebacker/safety Isaiah Simmons on a visit today. Simmons was the 8th overall pick in 2020. This is the perfect example of how these GMs, what they like to do, guys, is if they had a high grade on a player and they become free agents, they go sign them thinking, hey, we think we could get the best out of him potentially. Now, he hasn't been signed yet, and I'm not sold on him being signed, to be quite honest with you. But anytime you've got a grade, a third round or higher on a player, or lower, however you want to say it, I think higher is the proper way of saying it. Third, maybe a second round grade on it. I'm sure they did see, and he went 8th overall. You want to take a look at him and see what maybe went wrong. Now, in terms of what he's done in the league, it hasn't been pretty. Starting in 2020, a 59.9, then a 51.0, 67.9, 68.9. So those 2 years pretty solid. And then, of course, last year only 181 snaps and grade out of 45.6. So what you seen was him peak in 2021 with the snaps at 1,005. And it's just tapered down every year since. So I'm not expecting any all-world improvement here if Isaiah Simmons is signed, But we'll kind of keep our eye on it for sure. If they do pick him up, it's probably going to be one of those guys like, hey, come in, compete for a camp spot. I'd say there would be minimal guarantee where you could cut him. Now if he comes in and says, hey, I want $3 or $4 million a year with 50% of that guaranteed, I could see Goody being a little bit. I think we're okay. But what do y'all think about that, man?
I would file this in the doing your due diligence category, like we talked about last week with Goody. I mean, this is competition with Christian Welch, at the linebacker position, and I don't think there's too much to read into right now. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and everybody in the chat is saying a special teams grade looks good, and here in 2024, we get that Jacob comment off the screen there. 88.2 last year, special teams grade. Looks like he had 146 snaps, went down from 224 the year before, but still a 75.4. So it looks like he has kind of made his hay on special teams. So that's a good there in the chat for sure. So listen, I will never, after that debacle we had a few years ago on special teams, I will never discredit special teams again. I'm always going, hey, if you can make it better, please, for the love of God. So anything else on Isaiah Simmons here, boys, before we move on?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad pickup. Like you said, he had a decent grade on him. You would think, bring him in. What did he do well in Arizona that first year would be my question. Why was he doing pretty decent that first year, his rookie year out, and let's go from there. I think that'd be the way to go. Absolutely, man.
Absolutely. Looks like we got Dave joining us here in just a second. We'll let him get settled in and wait for a thumbs up. He may be on his phone, as a matter of fact. Let me see if he's ready. I know he's a very busy man, way busier than us. We're good to go. All right, so joining us now, man, this is a special honor to have Mr. Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports here on YouTube, covers the UT Volunteers. Dave, I can't thank you enough for carving out a little bit of time for us tonight, sir. How you doing?
Oh, glad to do it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I know this. We could talk about Nico if you wanted to, right? That seems to be the talking point all across the country right now. But I wanted to get your take on a couple other players. Maybe we'll wrap up with a little Nico talk as college football landscape seems to be changing really, really quick, right? And I don't know if we like it or love it or hate it or somewhere in between, but it's definitely a different feeling. But let me ask you a couple questions about James Pearce Jr., if you don't mind. Dave, I know you guys covered him extensively at UT. We talked about him the offseason leading into this year. He was one of these guys that it seems like every year, man, this guy's going to be a stud NFL player. He's a heck of a player off the edge. He plays with speed. He's long. He's got reach, all the things that scouts look for. And then all of a sudden, like it happens every year, a player just starts to sink out of sight on the boards, right? And he's all the way down now. If I remember correctly, as we dive in here, let me get the consensus big board up just as a quick reminder. When you look into the big board here and where he's at, he's now all the way down to 31 according to Mock Draft Database. So the big thing I think that's hurting him, Dave, is it seems like some people think there are personal issues, character issues. And we know this time of year, man, it's lying season. It just seems like every year people find anything they can, and most of the time it's teams interested in a prospect. I want to get your take on James Pearce Jr., if you don't mind, sir.
Well, I'll go back to what we reported in the summer, and I think that, well, I know that he had a serious personal issue to deal with through no fault of his own. I've not gone into the details of that, but it's pretty traumatic. So I understood why he maybe hit the ground running, so to speak. Although I think that his play at 7 sacks, I think his play is also determined by what Tennessee does defensively. And a lot of times he was dropping into coverage, or he was playing the run more so than rushing the passer. So that was a little odd to me, the way they used him. And then the only knock I have on James Pearce, and this is a Dave the Reporter knock, this is not a Billy Bob I'm a fan knock. They don't care, but he doesn't talk to the media at all, and didn't the whole time he was on Tennessee's campus. And his first media interviews, to my knowledge, were at the Combine, where he tried to repair that image, which I don't even think should be that solely, to be honest with you. But listen, if a guy doesn't want to talk to the media, that's fine. I mean, a lot of don't. I didn't like public speaking when I was in college, so I get that. So that's the only knock. If these, you're right, these anonymous people, they always have guys dropping because they want them to fall to them.
Right.
And I think James Pearce, as long as he's healthy and good from the neck up, and I believe he will be after what he went through last year, I think he'll be a very good pro. But you're right, he's gotten knocked a lot. These character issues, though, are nothing that I'm familiar with at all.
Got it. And you hit the nail on the head, and that's the reason I wanted to get you on here. I watch your show all the time, love the content you put out over there on YouTube. And, as I'm diving in, it's like, okay, which scout said it? Oh, we don't have a name. Okay, what team was the scout with? Oh, we don't have a team. It's just everything is anonymous, and that's where I'm going. All right, let's till we get something of substantial. It's, I don't know, man. I have a hard time with it. I really do. So I'm sitting here going, man, if he's on the board at 23, take him, because I think he's a stud. And like you had mentioned, they had that position, I believe they call it Leo, if I remember correctly, where he's kind of dropping into coverage and playing a little hybrid. You put him, just blazing off the edge in an NFL defense, I think he would be just fine for sure. So I'm glad you said it. And I told everybody last night, I have not prepped Dave and saying, hey, I think there's nothing wrong. I want to get your real honest take on it. And it seems like we're in the same place. So that's exciting for me for sure. So a couple other players, how much time you got? You got a few minutes here, Dave?
Yeah, lay it on me.
All right. So a couple other players that are in the top 100 when it comes to the UT Volunteers, obviously running back Dylan Sampson. How do you feel about Dylan Sampson coming out of Tennessee? I think he's in the 89 spot right now on the consensus big board.
Well, you're about to hear a reoccurring theme from me, and that is I think a lot of these guys are going to be really good values in the draft weekend. Pearce is one because I think he's slipped because of his supposed character issues. I think Dylan Sampson's one that's probably slipping because of his size and the fact that running backs, as you guys know more than I, are not very highly valued at the NFL level. So I think he's a guy that can come in and play. I think he'll have, depending on health, 6-7 good years, a very solid player. Don't discount him because of the height. Tennessee has had tailbacks before. Travis Stevens rings a bell going way back in the day. I got Scott Wells, center, actually blocked for him. I believe he blocked for you guys for quite a number of years. So, But I go back to Travis Stevens of I think Dylan Sampson has the ability to put his foot in the ground and change direction immediately, and I think he's dedicated to the hole, and I think that he'll be a very good tailback, whoever picks him up. I have trouble thinking that he's going to be, whether two elite backs probably over the past 10 years. Saquon would be one. I don't think he's going to be of that ilk, but I think he's going to be a solid tailback.
Nice. Good stuff. And another guy that's really fascinating to me is Omar Norman Lott. When you look at some of the metrics of him coming out at interior defensive line, and maybe he moved around the line a little bit more. You may have more detail on that than I do, but he's in the 81 spot currently. There were some metrics that had him as one of the top 3 interior defensive linemen coming out of UT. What do you think about Omar Norman Lott? We may have lost Dave. I think we froze up here.
I think we did.
Yeah, we'll try to get him back on here in a second. So I'll take him off the screen. He would not like to be frozen there. So maybe he can join us again here in a second.
He was thinking of all those positive things to say about Omar no Minot.
He's still thinking. What did y'all think about what he said about James Pearce Jr.? I mean, is that not pretty much spot on with what we've said? And I was going to pull up some of the quotes. And matter of fact, let me just read a couple of them before we get Dave back here, if he is able to jump back on. Some scouts are worried about the guy. I was at a game, and the guy was just a complete lone ranger by himself on the sideline, standing 20 yards from anybody on his team. Didn't look like he cared at all. Claims he was a captain and a leader and all that stuff, but he's just one of those things. He might have just been anointed that versus earning it. So when I heard that, I immediately go, Tim, this is how I react. I go, which game? I'd love to go watch the tape. Yeah. Oh, we don't have a game. Got it. Okay. Got it.
We lost the all-22 for that one, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah. We misplaced that footage. You know, it's funny because one of the PFF write-ups, I thought it was very interesting how it pointed out the fact that he had kind of a lower snap count compared to most due to Tennessee's hockey-like defensive lines that they would rotate throughout games. Now,
where have we heard that?
Where have we heard that before, right? Does that sound familiar to anyone? So, I mean, when you look at James Pearce Jr., man, there's a lot to consider, but I do think he'd be a great fit here in Green Bay for sure. Whether that's 23, 54, wherever, trade back, trade up, you know, if they got their sights on him, I think he'd be a decent pick, and I think he'd fit in Halfley's system.
Yeah, and look at the chart here, Emilio. Look at how there's no more football that had been played, right? He went from 13th down to 31st.
Yep. You saw that. I mean, in March, it was like in March, first day of March, they were like, you know what? You know who we're going to bring down this month is James Pearce. And hopefully by draft, he's in the second round. You know, and I mean, a guy like that, like you said, where's that tape? Let's see it. A guy that I work with in Knoxville, he goes some of the games with Bruce up in the box and met the family. Like, the dude seems like a genuine guy, like like Dave was saying, something off the field he didn't have any control over. All right, that happens. Like, life happens, right? Everyone's got to go through something, to get to where you are. I really don't see why we're going to be digging on this guy when we found other instances of things going on in this draft where you actually have a little bit of meat on the bone where you can actually go back and search that. I think that's, we do need to put a little face to the name here.
Yeah. Now let's go on to the next comment, and credit to Ryan Schlipp who sent these over to me. This was a part of Bob McGinn's article, and you guys know I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about it. Me and Ryan, I think we're on opposite ends of the spectrum there, and that's totally cool. I think that makes for great conversation. It also makes for a great study, like to get both sides of, hey, he's worried about these things. I don't want to speak for him. I'm looking at him going, okay, where's the sources? I'm not as concerned. So the truth probably somewhere in between. But here's another comment. There's some concerns on his character, said a third scout. A lot of emotional outbursts and inconsistency. And then it went on to say he's not quite Von Miller, but might be that type of player, I think, for the Bills, what they said. So again.
Yeah, our guys better wake up with their piss hot, like I said before. So.
Spot on drop right there, Tim, because give me a dude that's emotional, right? Give me a guy that's going to, that's the other thing. Another comment that was made was one teammate said he's very intense. He's very intense in the locker room, right? And it's like, good.
Yeah. Like, does he play defense?
Right. Yeah.
You want your defense to be intense? Let's go.
You want these guys to go out there and play with their piss highs, right? So there's another one with nothing substantial that we can go fact check, right? Here's the last one here. At Tennessee, he was literally a no-go. And this is what I wanted to ask Dave about. I hate that he got cut off there. He was literally a no-go. You ask somebody there, hey, if you had a chance to come to the league, would you bring this guy? They're like, absolutely not. On his own program, the whole team's working out and he's in his apartment. They didn't know where he was. So now, again, what did Dave did you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Dave just say there was a personal issue that he's not going to talk about?
Off the field, yep.
Off the field, and he also said it wasn't Pearce's fault.
Right.
No fault of his own. That's what he said.
So again, this is a guy, his primary occupation is covering the University of Tennessee Volunteers. So, I'm somewhat ignorant in the whole topic because I haven't followed the Vols as close as I probably should with them being right here in my backyard. But here we go. It is perfect. Dave's coming back on right now. Let's get him back on here real quick. We'll give him a second to get settled in.
Yeah, you got me?
I got you, buddy. Sorry about that. It's probably on our end, I'm sure, man.
When did phones reboot before we did live radio calls? Yeah.
Welcome to 2025, Dave. Welcome to 2025.
Yeah. Seems to be every time I'm in the middle of something like this. Sorry, go ahead.
All right.
We're talking about Omar Norman a lot. Probably a little bit undersized. I like him a lot with the right system. He's not a Vince Wilfork type of guy. He's not going to take up 2 blockers, but he's a rip and tear up the middle type of defensive tackle that really surprised me last year and may still have his best football ahead of him.
Gotcha. And it looks like right now they've got him on the consensus big board in the 81 spot. He peaked at 58. And we were just continuing the James Pearce Jr. Conversation as you got cut off there. And it's why he literally went from 13, James Pearce Jr. did, from 13 all the way down to 31. And there's been no football played at all. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
Well, yeah, and he was 1, according to Pro Football Focus, overall last summer. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he was considered the top prospect heading into the college football season last year by Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, absolutely wild. Okay, so the other one we want to ask your opinion on here. This is one that most Packer fans, I think, are excited about. It's Dante Thornton. Now, he's currently in the 152 spot, but boy, it sounds like he tested really, really well at the combine and just a physical freak. When you look at some of his numbers, you correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of feels like he maybe had lack of opportunity, and I don't know if that was the system he was in, the offense. It doesn't sound like the offense ran through Dante Thornton right there at wide receiver. What do you think about him? Because, again, he's someone that some people were saying anywhere from the 3rd to 7th round type player.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's really solid. I think there have been injury issues that you hope he's not that always hurt guy. He's a long guy. He is able to you would think physically to catch some jump balls, but Tennessee didn't do that as much with him as I would have thought they would have. He's streaky. He's fast, as you saw in the combine. Those numbers don't surprise me at all. I think he was really a victim of a bad quarterback, Joe Milton, 2 years ago. He was a product of that, and Tennessee couldn't figure out their receivers. He's not probably, and then last year, I think they struggled to find themselves because they had issues at offensive tackle. So I think he's more a result of that, those numbers that you read off. But I do think he's a very solid receiver. I don't think he's going to be your 1 as far as a guy that's going out there and dictating coverage. But if you're looking for a second receiver that can stretch the field, I think he's a great fit.
Awesome. Right now, that sounds great, to be honest. Because our field stretchers, Christian Watson, it looks like he's going to be out till November with that ACL he had late in the year. So that's why I think a lot of Packer fans are looking at Dante Thornton like, hey, this guy might be a late round gem, So before we let you go, and I appreciate you jumping back on, we really appreciate it. Nico Imaliava, man, I'm a big college football fan. I like to follow along and this new NIL situation that's emerged. I want to say this. I don't know how you feel, but kudos to Josh Heupel from my perspective on the way he handled it. Like, hey, look, we're moving forward. I want to get your take on it with Nico. I heard you and I'm trying to think the Calhoun guy on your show, Caleb, talking about him the other night, and I seen the videos. I lived in Knoxville for 6 years, so I seen the videos of the jerseys getting burnt and this and that. Bounced out. Emilio in the upper right, he lives down in Maryville, so we're somewhat familiar here. I'm in the Johnson City area. But what do you think about this whole Nico situation down there in Ball Country?
Wow. I think the 2 people least responsible for this issue is probably Nico and Josh Heupel. I think he's got a lot of handlers that are pretending to be agents. I mean, you guys deal with real agents. It's not just something you go to night school for. So I think they floated out there on Thursday that he was in contract negotiations. I think he felt like somebody with UT or their managing company, it's called Spire Sports, one of the 2 leaked out there had been an ongoing negotiation about his contract, his money, what he's getting paid NIL-wise. And then, so I think Nico felt like his hand was forced a little bit. Friday, didn't go to practice. And from my understanding, he told Tennessee's offensive coordinator, because Josh Heupel was not able to get a hold of him, he told Josh Heupel on Friday night, which became news Saturday morning, that they were moving on without him. So I don't know who quit first or who left, who divorced who first. I'm not sure. I think it was probably Nico. But I don't even think it was really Nico. I think it was his handlers. And I feel bad for the young man because everything I've heard about him personally, he's a stand-up guy. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's just a great individual, maybe a little immature, but this is a situation where he's probably going to go to another school, let's say probably a notch down, because I would consider Tennessee to be one of the top 20 or so jobs in the nation, football programs in the nation, 2025.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to take a step down. He's probably not going to make any more money because the spring transfer portal, I don't know that he's going to find somebody that's going to pay him upwards of $2.5 million, which is what he was making at Tennessee. So I think the Maliava's family has got some got some alarms that are going to go off pretty soon, and they're going to have some sober moments in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and that's pretty much what I was hearing too. Was like, it's unfortunate for him because no matter where he goes, the pressure on this kid now, he's going to be kind of painted a villain for most fans. And it sounds like it wasn't even, like you said, it was the handlers. And I don't want to speculate too much, but what I heard was it sounds like maybe family members or close friends that are involved and kind of trying to steer the ship. And yeah, it's just it's very interesting. It's just a different time. Boy, this is not 1995 anymore, is it, Dave?
No. And I mean, if you want to, you can go ahead and say his name because he's very active on Twitter. It's his dad. It goes by Ia Malsava. He was the one on Thursday that called Pete. I can't remember his name now all of a sudden, but I think it's Pete Nakos with On 3. Referred to him in a very derogatory term. So yeah, he's out there. He's made himself a public figure. So shoot away. Take all the shots you want.
There you go. Well,
Dave, I just like that soft point you had. I was going to ask, was it James Pearce? Like, did he have any of that softness that you said that, Nico might have, dealing with media and things like that? Did James Pearce have any of that negativity coming out?
Yeah, there's kind of two different kinds of soft, I guess. I mean, there's soft as a player, as a person. And then if I said soft, I was referring to the media. He doesn't like to do the media thing. So
okay.
I think that's just a one-off. I mean, he played hard and physical. I don't think he utilized exactly correctly, but I don't have any question about him being a tough guy. As a matter of fact, I think he's pretty tough. Probably has a pretty good angry streak too.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. The scouting reports say that like it's a negative. We want that on our defense. You kidding me? Like let's get somebody in here that's going to raise the bar a little bit, create a little intensity. So.
Yeah, Coach used to always say to me when I was covering Tennessee, "You'd rather say whoa than sick 'em." You don't want to have to motivate somebody. I'd rather him be angry and mad about life than I would just kind of complacent and have the Aaron Rodgers mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with that. So you guys make sure, if you can hear my voice right now, go check out his YouTube page, Off the Hook Sports. It's absolutely awesome. Even if you're not a Tennessee fan, they do a great job covering college football. Everybody hearing my voice, go sub to the channel right now. Not that he needs this. He didn't ask for this, but I'm telling you, you're missing out on great content. Again, Dave, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to jump on here with us, sir. We appreciate you.
Yeah, anytime. Sorry about the phone issues.
Absolutely.
No, you're good. You're good. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Again, that is Dave Hooker with Off the Hook Sports. Absolutely awesome. And he's a stand-up dude. Love his content. Again, I'm not a big Tennessee fan, but you listen to him talk about the Vols and how passionate they are and everything, it kind of makes you want to start rooting for them. So what'd you guys think? Jacob, I know we haven't gotten your take. You probably didn't get to hear much of what he said about James Pearce Jr., but you guys correct me if I'm wrong, guys. He pretty much said, nah, there's nothing there.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I actually did get to listen. I was listening at work while I was stuck in the Aldi's line. But I
was a guy.
I think it's exactly like we thought. I mean, it seems as if too that there may be a slight bit of credence to maybe him acting quote unquote off, because like Dave just said, he had something. Sounds like pretty catastrophic that he was dealing with, where you could understand that, hey, maybe I'm not going to come around being all smiley because I'm dealing with something that's insanely, impactful in my life, in my personal life. I don't blame a guy for that. And if that got misconstrued as just thinking that has an attitude problem or whatever the case may be, maybe that's the explanation as to where all this drama came from, but I think there is probably more credence to this. Just it's lion season, like you said, somebody has it in. And I remember seeing that James Pearce was so highly touted going into the season. Like you guys talked about, no more football's been played. All of a sudden, March 1st, it's like his stock just went down.
Because the beat writers are mad at him because he won't talk to the media.
And that's it too, Tim. Like, think about it. How many times have we, reporters are snippy little, whats, and they get really offended when they don't answer their questions. I'm just, here so I don't get fined kind of thing. They hate that mentality.
Marshawn Lynch, right?
They hate that.
Yeah, he wouldn't be the first talented player to not like dealing with the media. We're not new to that.
All right. Looks like we're getting good feedback in the comments. Appreciate you guys and gals in here. Hit that like button for us. Again, it hit me the other night. I'm like, why don't I reach out to Dave? Dave would probably say, get lost, chump, but we'll see what happens. And sure enough, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So really appreciate your time. Yeah.
We got to get him on one more time. I wanted to ask him about Cooper Mays. Looking for some depth at the center position.
I was going to ask him about Brew McCoy. Yeah.
All right, so some other news here before we get into some top 30 visits that broke earlier. So the Packers finally announced their 2025 coaching staff with titles. This was Rob Demoski put this tweet out. There are 6 newcomers: DeMarcus Covington, Luke Getsy, Corey Harkey, Jeremiah Colon, Jeff Kuntz, and Jamal Lett. The big one here,
Luke Getsy is not a newcomer. Stop it.
Well, he is right now, Tim. I mean,
technically speaking,
he probably changed his social security number after spending time in Chicago. You know what I mean? That's got to be a rough look down there. But the one I'm most excited about, if you'll notice here, is DeMarcus Covington. Right? We just kind of assumed he was going to be the defensive line coach. You guys know, former defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots under Gerard Mayo. People hear that and they go, but they were bad, Clayton. Yeah, but you got to understand, like 6 or 7 years leading up to that, I believe it was, Belichick handpicked him to be in his building working on defense for him. And they had some really solid defenses down the stretch there. So the fact that DeMarcus Covington is now being confirmed is the new defensive line coach as well as the run game coordinator. If you'll remember last year, Coach Campanelli, the linebacker coach, who got the defensive coordinator job in, I think, Jacksonville. He is DeMarcus Covington's taken over that run game coordinator spot as well. So I'm excited about that. I'm just glad to see that it was actually confirmed. I think we're going to see immediate impact from this. And what's really cool when you look at it now, Jeff Hafley, former head coach at BC, right? He's your defensive coordinator. Derek Ansley, your passing game coordinator on defense, former defensive coordinator for the Chargers. DeMarcus Covington, defensive line coach, run game coordinator, former defensive coordinator for the Patriots. It's just, you've got so many guys in this building that have so much experience. And the fact that you've got basically a head coach and 2 former defensive coordinators leading the charge in both passing game coordinator and run game coordinator, I'm excited to see what he does with this defensive line. What's your all's take on that? We'll start with you this time, Tim.
Yeah, don't sleep on Coach Ogabasi too. Assistant D-line. We saw our D-line take a step last year. We got better against the run. There was a lot to be excited about with him being there. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Ben Searman's, back once again as our running back coach for, I don't know, the 250th year or whatever this is for him. It's good to see, long-term retention on that side of the ball. Lot to be excited about, but yeah, I'm a defensive guy, and I think Hafley's got a nice squad here. It did suck to lose our Italian stallion there in the linebacker room, but onward and upward, and I feel really good about where this defense is at, especially Ryan Downard, I believe, second or third season as the DB coach, making his ascent here in the coaching ranks in the NFL. So there's a good balance with our staff, I think, on the defensive side of the ball, with veteran leadership and some new faces that are trying to make a name for themselves in this league. So a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, Emilio, there's several things that come to mind too. Like Sean Mannion, as Coach Lynn mentions here in this comment, Sean Mannion was studying under the all-time QB coach. What was his name again? It's leaving me. Just
Tom Clements.
Yep.
What is it?
Clements.
Tom.
Oh, Clements, yeah. So Sean Mannion got to study under him. Now he takes over, right, if I remember correctly, as the quarterback's coach full-time. Now, Luke Getsy, wasn't he the offensive coordinator in Chicago? Am I thinking right? That was the job he got down there. So Now you have a former offensive coordinator who's seen what that's like. He was the QB coach before, I believe, in Green Bay. So now you've got him back in the building as a senior assistant. There's all kinds of experience in this room, and I'm excited about it. What do you think about it? And John Dunn, I want to mention this, a couple of different things here, Emilio. Adam Stenavich, Jason Wilde done a hell of a job talking about him and how Adam Stenavich was the mastermind behind the Tucker Craft sneak. He actually, it was his idea to do that. And then if you'll remember, John Dunn, he had drew up a play for Christian Watson, I think it was last year.
Right.
Remember, they drew that up on the fly. Matt LaFleur being the great leader he is, you absorb criticism and you redistribute praise. When they said, man, that was a heck of a play call, he's like, yeah, actually John Dunn, our tight ends coach, drew that up on the sidelines. So what do you think about this new staff here, Emilio?
I mean, I like how it's all coming together, right? I think that it's going to be huge having a couple of, Luke Getsy and then also Sean Mannion in there helping Jordan out. Who they know Tom. They've learned from Tom. Okay, Sean, what can you teach Jordan? What can you do to help him get better? Is there anything that we can do to make this offense hum a little bit more? Not like we were terrible last year, but let's get it cooking. And I like that. Everybody, they have their place, but they're not afraid to speak up. It's going to be a team effort to get this thing. For us to get over the hump, whatever it is in the playoffs, for us to get by, it's got to be a team effort. We're not going to be able to do it, one at a time. Matt's going to have to take some notes from here, and here. Adam's going to have to take some notes. Let's get the O-line going, build that wall. Let's do all the things that's going to make this offense hum. And I'm excited about it. Seriously, get Jason Vrabel in here. Let's just get it all done.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him. Vrabel's a passing game coordinator. That'll be interesting to see. The looks with him and Tupac LaFleur out there on offense for sure.
Definitely. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I really do wish we were somehow, some way able to keep Campanelli. That dude was just a jar of lightning. You know what I mean? That guy made me want to run through a brick wall every time he talked.
He was the best guy around.
I am actually intrigued. I don't think anybody brought up Luke Butkus, and what he's done with that offensive line. I mean, that to me, I think is going to be one of the stronger rooms. I really like the Sean Mannion, like you talked about, him and Stenavich, hopefully, and Getsy being able to hopefully take another step with Jordan and really, really try to get the most out of him. And then again, like Tim said, that Vince Okabasi, that's probably my new favorite coach that we have. I hope that he's able to really invigorate that offense or the defensive line again. And then isn't that Ryan Downard? He's a fairly young guy, right? And
yeah.
Been around.
I think it's his second year as the DB coach.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought he was around for a couple of years. I'm impressed with him. I hope that maybe him and Halfley spend a little more time focusing on that DB room, because if we could take a position group that on paper doesn't look maybe the strongest right now, and if we just have a couple tweaks and a few guys make some significant steps, I mean, we could have a really put together defense and a whole team.
As Fred McFarley says here, Coach Camp knew how to fuel the meat missiles, no doubt. So,
oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Someone in here asked, Respect Oranges, so Salah's probably still going to be around this season. He's actually the DC in San Francisco again. Yep. So Kyle Shanahan said, that's enough of that over there helping Green Bay. Come back.
Did you by chance listen
to see that season the Niners had last year? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course they got Bob Saleh.
Did you listen to the interview Ross Tucker had with Fred Warner?
No. Was he good?
It was, dude, Fred Warner is a stud, man. I mean, he's just such a good dude. But he was talking about how Robert Saleh was the only one that basically had any faith in him, because Fred Warner was basically kind of like a tweener edge rusher at BYU, and nobody thought he could play stack backer. And Saleh had him do 40 reps at some sort of defensive some sort of exercise or whatever. And he's like, this dude can play stack backer. And they were like, no, he can't. And he's like, just watch. And he put him out there, and lo and behold, he's could be a future Hall of Famer at some point.
Yeah, which I got to say this, man. They announced this. Just made me think of this. Joseph saying, just want to say Coop, and you talking about Fred Warner. Obviously, it sounds like Jahad Campbell has been invited to the draft.
Yes,
well, as I'm telling you, if he's there at 23, and we pull the trigger on him, he may miss a little time early, but that's another dude that was a pass rusher. They converted him to stack backer, and he was just as good a stack backer as he was rushing the passer. That guy with Coop long-term, and if it clicks for Quay this year, imagine those three together. You re-sign Quay, you got the other two on rookie contracts, and And you know what? If it don't click for Quay and you have someone like Jihad Campbell, I know that Twitter will blow up. Don't get me wrong. Fans will not like it if they take Jihad Campbell at 23. But that dude, he is an absolute stud, I believe, out of Bama. He's just one of those guys that arrives angry, and he's not just a physical freak. He's not one of those dudes like not the dog on Quay. Quay was an absolute, like, he was a unicorn when it come to physical ability, 6 foot, all the things, right? Jihad Campbell, you turn on the tape in college, and it's like this dude can play backer. So I'm not saying it would be my first choice, but I damn sure would not be upset about it if they went with Jihad Campbell with pick 23. It's just how quick can he get back from that injury? Some people are saying it's going to be November. Others are saying, no, he'll be ready for camp. Those labrums can be a little tricky. So definitely not off to the best start. Now, if he starts to fall and makes it to the second round, maybe you trade up and grab him. That sounds a lot better. So go ahead, Jake.
Did you guys cover the I believe they announced today that there's 17 players that will for sure be in Green Bay. I have the list in case you wanted to.
Let's hit the list real quick. Reel them off.
Sure. 2025 NFL draft attendees, starting with Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama, Jihad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama, Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU, Abdul Carter from Penn State, Jackson Dart, Matthew Golden, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Will Johnson, Tet McMillan, Jalen Milrow, Clayton, Josh Simons, Malachi Starks, Shamar Stewart, which could be another one there, Cameron Ward, and Michael Davis.
Yeah. So there's
Williams. Sorry,
4 on that. How many was on the total list, Jacob?
As far as
that you just read off, how many total there?
17.
17. 4 of those 17, the Packers have had top 30 visits with. So,
and all 17 probably first round picks, right?
Yes.
Let's be real.
I think so. What Jalen Milrow is interesting because some people still see him as like a 3rd round pick. I think there's a legit shot he climbs up into the 1st round. I heard Daniel Jeremiah. You probably heard the same thing, Emilio. It sounds like he's thinking 2nd round, right, for Jalen Milrow.
Yeah. Right around the middle of the second. He said it might be a little rich in the 1st, but he's not. You could think that the Steelers like him enough. That's the talk of the town. If they like him enough, pull the trigger. I mean, what's more important than a quarterback?
Yeah. And again, if one of those guys are in house and the Packers take him at 23. That place is going to go nuts. Could you imagine? Because usually you get outside of the top 20, I don't want to say it's rare, but it's less and less likely one of those invitees are, you know what I mean, picked outside of the top 20. So the fact that one of those potentially, whether it's I like Michael Williams a lot. I really do. I actually like him better than Shamar Stewart, although Shamar Stewart, if it clicks, that dude is going to be an absolute dog. Trying to tear down the DeGuara jersey again.
You don't want it. I gotta get rid of it.
Trying to tell you the whole time, bro. Oh my gosh! All right, is that the Lynn Dickey shirt back there with the chili sauce on it?
Yes, it is.
All right, there you go.
Nice.
Now we know what the cat's after, right?
I would argue, Tim, you said it, most of these players will go in the 1st. I agree. I don't think Tyler Booker, in my opinion, would go in the 1st. I don't think Jackson Dart possibly could.
Yeah, borderline. Yep.
And then Jalen would be the only other one. But then Malachi Starks, for whatever reason, I don't think he's going to go in the 1st, which is crazy because he may be the best safety hands down in this draft.
Yeah.
You don't think Tyler?
That's why I said most. Not all of them, right? Probably 10 or more out of that 17 or 18 on the list will probably go.
Jake, you don't think Tyler Booker's going in the 1st? I mean, according to our board, he's 39th, but or 38th. But I was just wondering because all DJ talks about is him being the top interior O lineman on the board. That if anybody needs a guard, take him.
I know he likes him a lot. I just, for whatever reason, I just don't. There's so many other positions in need. I don't see many teams being willing to take a 1st round pick on a guard when there's, you know what I mean? It just seems a little far fetched at the moment, but I could be wrong.
Put that name in my mouth right there.
All right, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2. We're going to break down a couple of top 30 visits. I was wanting to do a mock draft, but we may run out of time unless, of course, we throw in an extra segment tonight. I don't know. I'm not making any promises, but we'll see you on the other side. We appreciate you.